AM980.ca.
Just coming up on 37 past the hour, we are live from the city centre in downtown London. News today that Canadian doctors are considering a policy that would bar obese women from trying to have babies through fertility treatments. It's provoked debate over whether fat women have the same reproductive rights as those that are thin. Some studies have found that obese women face higher risks while trying to become pregnant through in vitro fertilization. However, that science is not conclusive, and some are screaming discrimination. Dr. Jim Martin is the medical director at the Southern Ontario Fertility Technologies, and he joins us here on McArthur in the Morning on AM980. Dr. Martin, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
Good. First, I guess, is this, in your opinion, discrimination?
Oh, I think so. Yes. I think the whole thing has been precipitated by a debate that's going to be at our annual conference of the Fertility and Andrology Society. And that's going to occur. That debate's going to occur on Saturday, and I think it's a neat debate because the one doctor will take one side and the other doctor will take the other side.
And we'll get some of that on the phones here in a second. But why do you believe that this is discriminatory?
Well, I don't think we as medical professionals have the right to restrict medical care to anyone. We certainly have the obligation to inform them of the risks and give them informed consent, but I think that the access to medical care should be equal for all.
Well, I guess this comes down to how you view doctors and what their role is. And is the doctor not there to guard and preserve the patient's health, not just do what the patient demands?
Well, no, the doctor is not supposed to do what the patient demands, and there are certain limits. Certainly we have restrictions from various organizations that we belong to. But, access to fertility care with obese patients, there's not black and white science about the risks. Most of us believe that there are more risks for fertility treatment and certainly more risks during a pregnancy if a woman is obese. But the woman should be able to decide based on a presentation of those statistics to her what she wants to do.
So you think a doctor should be forced to administer a treatment when they believe it's detrimental to the patient's health?
Well, it's not necessarily detrimental. Yes, I think that if a treatment was 100% going to be detrimental, our oath is to do no harm or at least do minimal harm to achieve the most good. So, it's all a matter of degree, I guess.
But even if there's a 50-50 chance here, the odds are 1 in 2. Who knows?
Well, nobody has said that the risks are that high. Certainly with fertility treatment, obese women have more subfertility, and obesity does increase a thing we call polycystic ovarian syndrome. And if an obese woman gets pregnant, she's probably at a little higher risk of a miscarriage. But all of those changes are fairly subtle. Many obese women are fine during pregnancy. Many obese women respond very well to fertility treatment.
And we're not talking, I think need to be really clear here, we're not talking about fat women per se. We're talking about obese, that this is based on body mass index, just not how a doctor might feel about a certain patient's body or body image.
Right. Most of the statistics and the studies are done based on a thing called body mass index, which was adopted around 1990, and most of the studies have been using that. And we define a woman as obese if she is over 30 BMI. So that's the kilograms per meter squared. That's how we calculate that.
And this is more and more of a concern and will be raised more and more as we continue to see a fatter and more obese society.
We have several studies that have shown that obesity in the general population, as well as the sort of fertile years of a woman's life, have increased. So, yes, it's becoming a bigger problem.
Is there a taxpayer component to IVF treatment, or is it just 100% patient-funded?
In Ontario, it is funded either partially or wholly if a woman has blocked tubes. But there isn't most of the IVF is pay as you go.
So if you're just having problems conceiving, then you're the one reaching into your back pocket.
Yeah, but there are other infertility treatments that are less costly as well, and certainly women need to have access to the diagnostic procedures for infertility as well.
As you mentioned, this will be debated at a conference this weekend. Do you expect anything concrete to come out of that?
No. I think that people will carry their own opinions in, and probably very few will change their opinions coming out, but it'll be a very interesting debate.
What's the solution here, then? If a woman is deemed to be 30 BMI or over and a doctor will not give her an IVF, just go to another doctor, knock on another door?
I think that doctor would be obligated, if he felt inclined not to treat her, to refer her to a similar service with somebody that would treat her. I think that's part of our ethics.
Would that not be a little unethical, though, to force a doctor to do that? Because if he believes the treatment is truly harmful to the patient's health, why would he be recommending you, well, we'll go talk to this doctor, he'll probably do it?
Well, I think that the way that our ethics is founded is that if you have a particular belief that something shouldn't be provided to a patient, but that is provided generally in the society that you're in, that you're obligated to refer her to someone else or him up to someone else to make that decision, and then that becomes that physician's decision.
But you don't think that there should be necessarily a standard such as this 30 BMI?
I don't think so, because, I mean, the group that has infertility is so heterogeneous. I mean, some of them need very little treatment, some of them need no treatment, and some of them need very extreme treatment. And I mean, obesity is a range, right? So if you're just over the scale of a 30 BMI, you're not very obese, and most of us looking at that person wouldn't really consider them very obese. But we have patients that can become very obese.
Well, it's an interesting debate for sure, and we thank you for your time. We appreciate it this morning.
You're welcome.
There goes Dr. Jim Martin, the medical director at Southern Ontario Fertility Technologies. A break, and then we'll take your calls on this at 643-2222. Should Ontario doctors, Canadian doctors, should they be forced to give in vitro fertilization to patients that it may harm their health? Or do you think we're discriminating against obese people? 643-2222. Your calls and takes next on McArthur in the Morning.
London's most relevant talk show host on London's most compelling station. You're listening to McArthur in the Morning on AM 980.
Before the top of the hour, 643-2222. Do obese women have a right to IVF, in vitro fertilization? Or are they being discriminated against unfairly? 643-2222, out of town at 866-354-TALK, 354-8255. First of all, I don't think that there's any discrimination going on here. Why is it as a society we are so quick to yell discrimination? That those words, a word like that comes to our lips so easily these days. I can't have what I want. Oh, because why? You don't like the way I look? You think that I'm too fat? You're discriminating against me. That's not discrimination. I don't believe that acting in a patient's best interests, in their best health interests, that's not discrimination. It's called caring. The doctors are worried for their patient's health, for that woman's health. Yes, they may be jumping up and down in the office that they want to have a baby and they want to have it so badly that they're demanding in vitro. But if it's against that patient's best health interests, I don't think we should be forcing doctors to provide that treatment. A doctor doesn't have to do, doesn't necessarily need to do what a patient wants or demands. And I'm tired of everybody running around telling the guys that have got the medical degrees what they should or shouldn't be doing. Yes, the science isn't conclusive here, but there is science leading us to the fact that there are problems and health risks for obese women who are trying to get pregnant, who are looking for fertilization treatment. 643-2222, 866-354-TALK, 354-8255. This has been really hot on our Facebook page throughout the morning. A lot of comments, and I'd like yours here on the air this morning. 643-2222. Do you think that these women, obese